She got heart in her eyes, shock you like you believe. So in the hands on, roses running through eyes. Standing there, nothing wrong. She can make me up to swim. Shot me like wake up. Silver, shot me like wake up.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Circuit Stream's Open House. We're so excited to have everybody here in attendance this afternoon. In keeping with the theme of the Open House sort of mantra that we've been doing recently, I hope you enjoyed that house song there. I always get the head bopping at the beginning of these workshops. It's nice to see everybody could make it out this afternoon. I always love to ask this. First of all, before I get too excited, can everybody hear me? Can everybody see me? Everything is all good. Can someone let me know in the chat, please and thank you? Awesome. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Steph. Once again, want to thank everybody for joining us this afternoon. I would love to know, where is everybody tuning in from this afternoon? Where are you all located around the world? I myself am in Toronto, Canada. Circuit Stream is headquartered in Calgary, Alberta. Jeff, good to see you. LA, Francesca, Italy. Vlad, Toronto as well. I see Switzerland. Roberto, welcome. For everybody who is tuning in from abroad, particularly our European attendees this afternoon, I would like to say that this session will be recorded. So if you have to drop out at any point, no sweat. We will get you the recording. So please don't worry about it if you have to run. Let's get started, though. I'm super excited to have everybody join us today. Welcome to our open house, specifically highlighting our 10-week XR development with Unity course. I've already introduced myself. My name is Kyle. Today, we're going to be joined by Jerry, who is our head of education, and also Chris Rojas, who's one of our current students who is backstage and will be talking about his experience with us. Let's move along. I've already introduced myself. Once again, my name is Kyle Nichols. I am the education lead here at Circuit Stream. I bring about 3 years of sports and technology experience to the table. And of course, I have studied something that has nothing to do with VR whatsoever. I've actually got a law degree from here in Canada, Carleton University. So background in law, experience in sports, and now here we all are in tech. One of the things that what I always love to do is sort of show off what some of these experiences are in AR, VR. With this ever-changing landscape, the things that we're capable of building are so exciting. I don't know if there's any World of Warcraft players out there, but this AR experience really gets me going every time. It's so exciting to see all of these awesome new use cases emerging within the industry. Important to note, not just gaming. Of course, World of Warcraft is a massive online game, but in entertainment, in training use cases, there are some awesome use cases out there, and this is just one of them. Moving right along, I did mention this: professional applications, spatial awareness, training simulations. This here looks to me like it's a HoloLens 2 application. People way smarter than me put this together, so super awesome to see. Moving right along, UI, UX design, there are tons of use cases within the VR and AR space. This spatial interface is particularly cool, so I always love to show this one. I do hope the gifts that are coming across at a reasonable pace too, nothing too framey. But let me know in the chat, see if I can do something to help out. I think on the left there, that might be our very own Nikisa Donnelly. I can't quite tell with the AR face filters there, but if any Snapchat users in the chat, you would definitely recognize some face filters there on the left of the screen. So I love that one too. And the motorcycle on the right with design, of course, as well. And finally, this one is particularly exciting. The Quest room there on the right, these next-gen operating systems. Awesome to see that we are advancing how we interact with our surroundings in such an operating system. Applications as well. Next-gen applications here. Could you imagine in the morning having your coffee deleting your junk mail like that? How cool would that be? I always love that one. Just bam, away it goes. Moving on. Anyways, let's dive right into it this afternoon, folks. Once again, thank you all for tuning in this afternoon. My name is Kyle. I'm the education lead here. I'm going to run you through just a brief presentation about CircuitStream, about who we are as a company, about what we're all about, some of our academic programs, and specifically, we're going to be discussing our XR development with Unity program. Behind the stage, as I've mentioned, I do have Jerry joining me. Jerry's our head of education. I'll introduce him in just a moment. He's going to talk about an overview of our learning objectives across all of our programs. And then specifically, he'll dive into the schedule and content taught in this 10-week course. One thing I forgot to mention, above the chat there on the right, there is a questions tab. If at any point anybody in attendance has questions, please do paste them in the questions tab there. It helps I and my colleagues stay organized behind the scenes because there will be an in-depth Q&A session that occurs at the end of the presentation. So if anything that I'm saying, you've got some questions about that, or for Jerry or for Chris as well, who will be interviewing in just a few minutes, please do paste those there so we can get to them. But anyway, CircuitStream, who are we? We are a Canadian company headquartered in Calgary, Alberta, out in the Rocky Mountains in the West Coast area. We were founded in 2015 when we noticed a gap in the training and education space within the XR, which is an umbrella term for the VR and AR space. To date, we've educated over 30,000 folks in XR development, a milestone that we hit earlier this year, and we're super proud. We are a Unity channel partner and a Unity authorized training partner. Effectively, what this means is that Unity gives their stamp of approval for all of our training programs based on our dedication to high quality education and the best possible training available. We are also an Oculus vendor, and we are in the process of becoming a Microsoft mixed reality partner too. That should wrap up soon, but it is worth mentioning as we do support all of their platforms and internal software operations. I've already mentioned Jerry. Jerry's our head of education. He probably doesn't love this, but I like to call him Brazilian Thunder. He is our head of education. I've actually never called him that in my life. I don't even know why I said that. Anyways, Jerry's our head of education. He brings a wealth of experience within the VR industry. He's got over 10 years. He is based in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and has a amazing education in games technology and interaction design, and also a degree. I'm probably getting flack in the Slack channel behind the scenes for saying that about Jerry. I hope he can take that in good humor. Anyways, moving on. Jerry, if you're behind the scenes, I would love to invite you on stage here, and I'd love to chat with you about your story, how you got into XR, and your experience to date. So if there you are, Jerry, Brazilian Thunder. What do you think? Does that mean, is it appropriate?
Well, I still need to think about that. You caught me off guard. All right.
Amazing.
All right. Can everyone hear me and see me well? Is it working fine?
Vlad, thank you. Chris, thank you. Scott, awesome. Jerry, well, I'd love to hear from you in your own words. Tell me your XR story. How'd you get into it? Why VR? Why AR? I'd love to hear your background. So take it away.
Cool. All right, great. So actually, I come from a different gaming industry. So 10 years ago, a little bit more than 10 years ago, I joined University for Games Technology. I worked with games for a long time. And at some point when VR started to be a thing, there was the need for companies that create VR training simulations here in Brazil. So I joined one institute of technology that was working towards those things. So we started to discover how to use VR technology for training, um, every sort of things. Like we work with the military, with the army here in Brazil to train people how to um, how to survive, how to learn how to use a rifle and things like that. We also work with oil and gas and mining companies. So like 6 years ago, VR started to be uh, an emerging technology, and there are not lots of people who knew how to do that. So I just jumped into that out of curiosity to learn that as well. So I moved from gaming to VR a little bit, and we built like very interesting simulations and trainings here. People still use those applications up to now, and of course now there are way more modern technologies out there with the Quest, for example. But at that time, we even used a couple of proprietary technologies. Like the army, they had their own headsets, and we needed to learn not only how to develop but how to use those hardware as well. So yeah, it's basically like there were the opportunity, lots of companies trying to use that for training, improving their methods, their processes, and I just jumped in to learn how to do that as well a couple of years ago.
Amazing. Jerry, I always love that story, from game design straight to the military. I am
Yeah.
curious, and I'm imagining that you're probably not able to speak too much into this. Were you mainly focusing on VR, or was AR at the time involved as
It
well?
was Yeah, it was mostly it was being really honest, it was like a mix, but in the beginning it was mostly VR. And the reason why it's like the military is because they always have like resources. They have technology, they're building technology, they are pushing it forward. So yeah, most of the trainings were VR. As you said, we cannot mention a lot of things, but on how it works or what we do for them. But yeah, so they are engaged in dangerous activities, and training people in those activities on field usually it's expensive, and they might even risk their lives. So they use VR a lot. I think the American Army as well, but here in Brazil they use VR a lot to train their personnel on operations, statics, how to operate the equipment and everything. So it's safer and also cheaper.
Very cool. Very cool. I've got one question about your journey as well that I always love to think about, just as somebody who is relatively new in my professional working career. As somebody who got in at such an early step within the industry, what has the transformation like been from your perspective as somebody who was in at the ground floor and is watching the technology evolve before your eyes? What's that experience been like?
I think there are two things that evolved, like two things that have been transformed a lot. The first one is the hardware itself. It's a lot more accessible today. Almost everyone can have actually a VR headset. So if you want to jump into that, developing that, you don't need to spend buckets to have access to hardware. Almost everyone can actually have one at home. This is the first thing, and the second one is the technology as well. So it's a lot easier to develop for VR nowadays in AR as well. We have like game engines such as Unity, Unreal. They are free, they are accessible. They have an XR stack, so you don't need to learn how to interact with every single hardware. We can just learn like the frameworks and the concepts and apply them. So nowadays, you can actually build something VR in a couple of months. And when I started, it was like a couple of years actually to have like a full finished application. And it will only work on a specific headset and a specific device in a specific environment. But nowadays, it's like completely different. So I think that those are the two things that are evolving really fast. The hardware and the SDKs, the technology that we used to build for that. It's a lot more comfortable to develop nowadays.
Amazing. So it's not it almost sounds like you're saying it's just the right time to get involved in the XR space. It's not the early days. You're not paving the path for future developers, but at the same time, you are exploring and testing limitations. That's so cool. Now, fast forward to your time here with us so far. Obviously, you're a Unity certified professional, our head of education. What's that process been like? Speaking about the industry, going from somebody who was obviously invested in this yourself, upskilling yourself, learning in school, self-teaching along the way. What about the networking, the certifications, the instructor process has been sort of unique in your experience?
Cool. Well, that's a good question. The thing is, always I've been teaching since like 2014, 13 or 14, I think. As soon as I joined like the academic career, I started a master's degree. We need to actually teach at least some things, but I really enjoy teaching. So I started teaching like computer science at universities. I always try to find like the disciplines or the topics that were related to games or something that is closer to what I enjoy doing. So I started paving the path as an instructor as well. So I was like developing during daytime and teaching in nighttime. And at some point it was just like in a balance. But the thing is, I just started to shift a little bit my practical experience to the teaching experience as well. Then when Unity, they launched this Unity certified instructor program, which is super nice, like for the ones out there that want to teach as well. They assess not only your technical skills in Unity, like you need to know how to use Unity very well, but you also need to know how to teach Unity. So it's like a 2 phases process where you need to go through. And then I was teaching and I was using Unity to teach people how to develop applications. So I decided to try it and see how it goes. And that's a very interesting experience because we have access to other professionals out there, to other instructors, and we can actually discuss the best practice for teaching. Unity is evolving, so we have early access to the new features, to the new versions, and we can prepare ourselves to teach that as well. So yeah, it's been like it's almost my entire career. I've been developing and teaching at the same time. I don't think I choose that path; it just happened. But yeah, I really like teaching, so I enjoy being in the middle of those two worlds.
Amazing. Jerry, I love that story. Every time you tell it, I feel like there's something new that comes out that is just awesome to share. So I really appreciate you taking the time to tell your story. We are going to have you back on in just a few minutes here when you get to talk about the course. But for now, I just want to say thank you for donating your time, as always, to be with us here this afternoon.
All right.
We will see you in just 1 minute. So thank you, Jerry. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. See you in a while.
Just a minute.
Oops.
All good. All good. Chris, if you're backstage, I would love to invite you up here on stage as well. I would love to learn about your experience. So Chris, if you are in the background, I'd love to have you up here as well. There you are, Chris. Chris, welcome. Thank you for joining us here today.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can folks in the audience, can you hear Chris okay? Please let us know in the chat really, really quick. Awesome. Thank you, Demetrios. Glad to see you can make it out, by the way. Chris, obviously your experience in the XR space is a little bit different than Jerry's. It seems like you're fairly new to the space. If I'm not mistaken, you're currently enrolled in our XR development with Unity course, the one that started at the end of September. Steph says hi, Chris. Hi, Steph.
Yeah.
Same deal, Chris. I'd love to hear your story. What's your XR story? What's your background been like? What's with the interest? How did you find us? I'd love to hear it all.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess a funny story is I started college with as a CS major, and I took my first class and I realized I'm not going to be able to hang with this. So I switched to my my actual passion, mechanical engineering. So I've been in the mechanical kind of aerospace industry for about over 10 years now, but I started in the auto industry actually. Worked for Toyota for 3 years. And then, there was a downturn in the auto industry back in 2008. Everyone got kind of laid off, the factory shut down. So I met a friend in the aerospace industry called Maxar, and I joined there. So there I worked on the floor with technicians, building satellites, being hands-on with the hardware, writing all the technical instructions. And year after year, I really empathize with kind of the difficulty of building and just, I guess, in a way, how underserved the technicians were in terms of leveraging technology. Like we have all these powerful phones, at our fingertips, but they're still using paper drawings and opening up binders for all these procedures. So there was a good 5 years, I would say, where I was just questioning, like, how do we take the next step, right? And then our company actually started a program called Kickbox, and that was actually created by Adobe. But what they do is you get this box and you get like a cash card. I think it's the amounts range, but we got $1,000 cash card, and we had the freedom to use it for anything, to build a prototype for the company and then eventually present it to the executive team.
Very cool.
Right. And at the time, the HoloLens was the nice and shiny object, right? But it was, I think, over 3,000. So we were like, okay, what are we going to do? So the manager who was managing the Kickbox program said, well, if you combine with two other guys and purchase one, I'll let that slide. So we
The rest is
purchased one.
history.
And man, it was just the coolest device, especially because it was Windows based, and that's pretty important in the aerospace industry in general, just in terms of IT security. So we took this the device and we wanted to create a quick prototype within a couple months. This was back in 2018, I think, January. And at the time, like I wasn't a developer. My partner was, but he was busy with his full-time job. So what we were going to do, we actually ran across Vuforia. I think PTC owns them, but they had a product that they were kind of pushing out too. And it allowed us to get 3D models and experiences right onto the HoloLens without development experience. So we actually leveraged that to create our first demo. So we sat in front of the vice presidents of the company and pitched our vision of using the HoloLens to streamline manufacturing processes. And we got a really good reception. We ended up getting funded by a whole department with essentially, they didn't even give us a limit. They just said, let's go ahead and start working on it.
Amazing.
Right. But what happened was there was a layoff. The managers who were managing that left, and then all of a sudden we were in a lull. And it wasn't until there was another partner who came in who was a developer, and he said, you know what? We've been waiting for these features from Vuforia for our specific use case, but we realized they weren't going to do it in time because, they're catering to a large industry. So we decided to go custom route. We built a team together, a team of 5 developers, and on the HoloLens we use Unity to create a in-house manufacturing assistant. We call it ARMA, Augmented Reality Manufacturing Assistant. And we actually got the funding to complete that whole project and deploy it on a production product on the assembly line. We did that. It was a couple months build time, and then we learned a lot from it. We got great reception from the people who are actually using the HoloLens, and that's kind of where it leaves me today. Kind of
amazing.
Yeah.
Chris, I got to ask you, that sounds like, first of all, in a men's journey, you're definitely an early adopter, someone who really championed the technology internally and had a vision for the future. And it sounds like that sparked a wildfire internally, which is just awesome. As someone who, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, it sounds like you aren't necessarily a developer coming from that background. What was the process and the journey like going from non-developer to internal champion seemingly overnight?
Right. It was really about, I guess, believing in the potential of the technology. It really took a developer as a partner to put into context what was possible, right? Because as a non-developer, you may think the sky's the limit, but you have constraints like time, you have manpower constraints, technology, IT. Also, all this stuff I learned, it was kind of like almost like a mini startup in a way, internal, where we had to continually pitch for certain things, get teams together. But going from a non-developer to a kind of a champion of XR in the company was it was a fun experience, and it was really refreshing. But I guess just to expand a little more, as I was leading this team now, our developers would be talking about things in Unity and maybe backend data and databases. And I became really interested in what that was all about. Like I wanted to be able to help make, good decisions rather than just kind of driving the end vision, being there alongside with them towards that.
Right, and that makes total sense, and that totally brings me to my next question, Chris, because I do want to ask about your decision to push for some education. How you found CircuitStream, what your experience has been like. What was that transformation like?
Yeah, yeah. So what's really funny is I attended the AWE Augmented World Expo in Santa Clara. I think it's 2018, and that's where I met CircuitStream for the first time. They were offering a free workshop,
Mhm.
and that was about the exact same time we were using the HoloLens. So I was like, this is perfect. So, and the workshop was about creating like an AR business card. You basically,
Yep.
yeah, right. And you use. At the time I only had a laptop, so what's funny is I took as many notes as I could, and I went home right away because I was so excited because the workshop was just so awesome. Like it made you feel like you could do it. And then I went home and I was sitting by my wife and like, I'm gonna try this. And within like an hour, I got it working with no prior experience. So I'm like, okay, that was just like that was super cool. Um, and then I guess the constraint for me, because I'm a student now, so it took a year or two. But I think the reason was I was just so busy with my current role and this kind of championing role. I just didn't have time to commit to the 10-week program. But when the window finally opened, I just went in head first, and I've been able to just immerse myself in everything that's being taught.
Amazing. I am curious, just generally too, how has the experience been so far? What's the pace been like? Have you felt at any point overmatched? I'd be really curious to hear from the student's perspective what the process has been like as someone who's still going through it.
Sure. Because I didn't have the opportunity early on to join the course, I just learned about C sharp, just fundamentals, just at least that, right? Because that's not going away. So I learned that. And then as I joined the course, it definitely helped me. But at the same time, the course is run in a way that the instructors really get a feel for the students' levels. And as they go through the lessons, there's always times where they just stop and say, does everyone understand? Um, and we've covered, and I'm almost done with the course. I think we're on week 9 this week. But just reflecting back, man, I essentially have a portfolio in a way. Like it's kind of crazy. I never expected it, but when I guess the important thing is you commit to what you're learning. So you learn the lesson live, you're there, but also the replays have been super valuable for me. I mean, I've probably watched a replay for almost every lesson, either whether to finish the homework or just to kind of let that knowledge sink in. But looking back on these like 9 weeks now, it's like I have like 5 or 6 projects that I could continue to build on because I understand how they were made. So they weren't just like, something that I just copied and pasted or something that, I
Right.
built along with it with the instructor. And yeah, so
That's awesome. I'm always thrilled to hear that. So that's super cool. And having that portfolio is just going to serve you in so many ways moving forward, both personally and professionally. So I'm glad to hear that. Chris, one last question for you here, and then I'll let you go. This isn't 20 questions or anything like that. I'm curious, what's next for you? What's going to happen with you post our course, post CircuitStream? Are you going to continue learning? Expand
right.
what you're doing at work? I'd love to hear about your future plans.
Yeah, to segue into what I've been learning from the classes, now that when I have my meetings with my developers, I mean, I could talk, like at this almost at the same level, at least at the technical level with them, and suggest things. There are things that I learned in the course that they didn't know because Unity and XR is such a fast-paced industry. I mean, you got to keep up with it, right? And So that's been really fun. But what we've been doing now is because we've proven that the product, the company likes the product. It's provided a lot of value. We are iterating on that now on like a 1.0 version, a real version that has improved like UX, UI, and has features that we learned from all the feedback we got from the technicians. So that's a kind of a 6-month to 1 year project from here on out that I'm leading. And then in the future, for me personally, I just want to continue to be involved in the XR. It's just so fun. Like, just kind of understanding the mechanical, physical aspects and having that experience, and now kind of meshing it with software, which is, the inevitable path that we're going on. They're meshing so much now that it's not going away, and it's just it's a thrill.
That's awesome. Chris, I'm glad to hear it. I'll let you go there. We are going to have Chris join us for the folks in the audience later on for the questions. So if anybody has any questions directly for him during the Q&A period, we will have him back. So he'll be able to speak more to his experience and your specific questions. But for now, Chris, once again, same as with Jerry, thank you for joining. Always awesome to hear about your experience. And I will see you in just a few minutes.
All right. Thanks.
See you in a minute. Okay, so let's move on here for just a second. I want to discuss, some of our student stories, people just like Chris, projects, who takes our 10-week XR development with Unity course? What's their background? What have they built already? What are they doing now? Where are they now? These are all important questions that we seek to answer. And as part of that, I also want to be very cognizant of some other stories that we've got with folks just like Chris, namely Michael Oakes. This is a story I love to tell. Michael took our course, I want to say about 2 years ago. I think just last month he had his very first day as a software engineer with Unity. So we're super proud to see Mike grow and continue his growth in this space. Jennifer Swan, like Chris, took our course. It was actually just this year. She took our course in May. And she recently has received some one-to-one education with Oculus Launchpad via their incredible program there. And she's actually submitted a sizable funding to have the prototype that she built in our course funded by Oculus so that she can build a business around it, which is obviously super exciting for her. Matt DeLallo is another amazing story that I love to tell stemming from his time with us. He didn't go the developer route, but instead the designer route. He's now got his own studio as well. So to see the incredible work that he's doing as an XR designer, really shaping the space and going off and doing amazing things has been incredible for us. And so these are some of the stories that I love to tell. As part of that experience, as you can see on the screen here, we've worked with some of the biggest and the best brands in this space. It's really a great privilege to be able to work with organizations, Apple, Tesla, VMware, Raytheon, YouTube, Facebook, you name it. These companies are exploring XR technology. And because it's so early in their exploration, they are seeking education. And so we've had the privilege to partner with them and help their developers and people just like Chris, the internal champions, grow and expand what they're doing in this space. And so it's been incredible to have those experiences, and we've really learned and grown from it together as well. Now, I'd like to speak about the landscape. We talk about the growth. We talk about the advancement of this industry. As you can see here, the VR Fund is an amazing online program dedicated to helping folks seek jobs within the space, seek funding within the space, and all of these logos on screen, and there's almost too many to pick them out, but all of these organizations in some way, shape, or form since 2019 have funded the development, education, and growth of this industry and are working with XR to some capacity. And this is one of the things that I was discussing with Jerry. It's definitely early days, but it's not too late to join the movement, and maybe you'll end up with one of these companies if you're deciding to upskill in this space. I mentioned this with Matt DeLallo too. So he decided not to go the traditional XR developer route. There are so many roles and opportunities within the XR landscape that you could choose to follow, whether you want to be a researcher, a technical artist, a product manager, developer, a designer. The opportunities are almost limitless, just like the use cases themselves. And so if you're looking to enter this landscape, maybe you should consider one of these roles. And I'd love to share this slide for that reason. Chris just mentioned this as well with his experience as the internal champion. Having XR skills leads to competitive advantages within your organization, within the industry itself. Burning Glass is a really well-respected research company within the technology space, and they've seen some crazy numbers, like 600% demand growth for Unity and Unreal Engine skills. You know, understanding that in 2020, in the US alone, programming jobs were expected to go unfulfilled, over 1 million of them. And, you know, there's definitely opportunity that comes along with the financial side of the equation as well. It's estimated that folks with Unity or Unreal skills will, on average, earn at least $20,000 more than their peers as compared to those skills in another platform. So the advantage is truly there. I mean, this slide says it all right here. The demand, those 1.1 million unfulfilled programming jobs in the US of A alone. Clearly, AR and VR is growing. You know, what else can I say? At this point, I'd like to invite Jerry back on stage here. Jerry is going to go over sort of the Unity game engine, our core learning practices, and specifically those involved with our 10-week course. So I'm going to jump off for a minute here, let Jerry take over as our head of education. He can definitely speak to this better than I can. So thank you for rejoining here, Jerry, and take it away.
All right. Great. Thanks, Kyle. So I am back. Given that we are focusing more on the 10 weeks XR development course with Unity today, so I'd like to talk a little bit about Unity. Unity is one of the most used game engines out there. So it's fundamentally a game engine, which means it can handle graphics, physics. We can use scripting there. But that's not only used for games. It was originally designed for games, but now people use that in all sorts of industries. So if you want to make things for architecture, engineering, manufacturing, automobilistic industry, so people have been using Unity for all sorts of applications. Very powerful in terms of the graphics, what we can do in that. It can be hyper realistic. It can be something that is more stylized. You can have like very precise physics simulations or something that is more simple. So actually, we can do all sorts of applications in there. It's very complete. You can add audio, image, videos, everything. So if you want to build an immersive application, Unity is definitely useful for that. We go from the very beginning. In the 10 weeks course, we don't assume any previous knowledge of the tool and of the programming language or anything. So we go from the very basics on how to use the Unity interface, how to interact with that, how to bring your 3D models in there, how to configure everything, the pipelines, how to build user interfaces for VR and for other applications that are not VR. So basically, we try to cover broadly in this course everything that Unity can offer, so you can know what is possible to do, how to search for more resources, and you can actually have like one application from the beginning to the end in the sessions, and also with the support of the instructors. We have a couple more courses, so we're focusing today on the XR development with Unity. This is going to cover everything that you need to know to have a VR and AR applications developed in Unity. But we also have a couple more courses if you want something more specific. Say, for example, you want a HoloLens and you want to know how to build applications in Unity for the HoloLens. We have a course for there. The same for if you want to do hand tracking for the Oculus Quest or Magic Leap, for example. So in this slide, you can see like one of the or a couple of the skills that is possible to learn in Unity. We try to go over the majority of them in the 10 weeks course, so you know how to go from there. But we have a couple more specific courses as well. So specifically for the 10 weeks course, we can, yeah, there we go. So it's a 10 weeks course. All sessions are live. You have 3 hours of live sessions with an expert, with instructor, and the colleagues as well. So you can discuss the solutions. As Chris just mentioned, The instructor is going to make sure that you are following along, that you understand every single concept and how to apply them. So we are often challenging people and reviewing what they're building. We go like somehow like that. So we start with the intro to Unity, how to use that, how to create a scene, a terrain, prefabs, and all those things. Then we go into a little bit of C# scripting. As I mentioned, we don't assume any previous knowledge, so we go from the very beginning. But C# and scripting is very important, so you can create more behaviors in the engine that looks like what you want to do. So if you want to make architecture visualization or a shooting game, all of those things that are encompassing the engine, so you can just decide where you want to go. We go into animations and UI, so those things are very interesting as well. Then we jump a little bit. So those first things, they're going to allow you to use the engine to build wherever you want. But after week 4, we're going to jump specifically in things that are more turned to AR and VR, especially to VR. So how to make physics interactions, grab things, release things, detect if the user is pressing the controller and how to treat that input. So we go into a couple of more specific things for VR. We're going to physics, how to use joints, how to use gravity and all of those things. So you can actually make things that looks like realistic. We move a little bit into AR as well. So you're going to learn how to detect planes, how to place things in your environment using AR Foundation, which is one of the frameworks out there. So just try to explore this one because it's more interesting side of Unity. We also cover lots of VR of design, how to make this feel comfortable, how to make this feel immersive, how not to break the user experience. And you will be always working with the instructor and in the one-on-ones to build your portfolio, as Chris also mentioned. So we're going to have, in the end, your personal project. You have 10 weeks to work on that, to polish that, to improve your skills, and to come up in the end of the course with something that you are proud of. And then you can show to your network. You can try to use that to find a new job or things like that. But we make sure that we support you with your project throughout the entire course. We'll also cover a little bit of optimizing and publish, so you can actually deploy that to the devices. You can improve the frame rate, so you actually have like application that could be commercially explored or explored as a portfolio. So basically, this is like the overview of the course. We cover everything that you need to know to go from point zero in Unity to being able to build your entire application, be it VR or VR, over the 10 weeks. Can we move to the next one? The next slide. There we go. Great. So those are the most important learning outcomes that we have in this course. The first one, and I like it very much, is that you will be prepared to create your own XR idea. So from day one, in the one-on-one with the instructors, we're going to be discussing the size and the scope of this application. So we make sure that you actually are able to build something and express that something in AR or VR. So you can just choose what you want to build in there. And in the end, you're going to have your own XR idea developed and expressed in a VR or AR application. We're going to teach you how to develop for different platforms. So we're not focused in the 10 weeks course. We're not focused only on HoloLens or only on the Oculus Quest. So we're going to be learning what are the frameworks out there, what are the strategies out there to make sure that it's going to be working in the majority of the devices out there. So you can actually expand your project and show people that have multiple devices. We also help you to manage the project. So we're going to make sure that we can slice your project in a way that is still immersive, interesting, and well polished, but over the 10 weeks span. So we're going to work together with the instructor, with the one-on-one instructors, to make sure that your project is on track, that you actually are covering the most important aspects of it. Another thing that we make sure that we focus on is that you're going to design around the benefits of XR. So if you have a device that supports hand tracking, even though we don't cover that fully in the class, in the one-on-ones, you can just go over that. So maybe eye tracking. So I don't know. We're just going to make sure that your idea, your project idea, is using the best of what's available in the XR world out there, based on what is the device that you want, what you want to build. But we're going to be giving you hints and helping you to find out what are the best strategies to make the best project possible, given what you have, what you know, what you're going to be learning, and what you want to achieve. And also, we have our Slack channel with lots of professionals in there, alumni. You can discuss your ideas, projects, demonstrate that. So we also help you with the networking in there. You're not gonna be alone. You have access to all the instructors, but also to our community in there, which is huge, and people from different backgrounds with different experiences from different companies. So it's good not only to get feedback on your project and improve that based on it, but also to grow your network, maybe find a job in there. Lots of companies are there as well, sharing their opportunities that can be discussed by people enrolled in this course. Can we go to the next one? Okay, so I think now it's with Steph. It's Kyle today. I'm sorry. So yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so used to have like staff in the workshops, but it's with Kyle. Yeah, so that's it. I think about the 10 weeks course. If you have any questions, like specific questions, you want to discuss that in the end, I'm gonna go back. I'll also be answering the questions in the question tab. But yeah, so I'll be back in a while.
Awesome. Thank you, Jerry, for joining again. Steph, for those of you in attendance, is my colleague on the admissions team. There's also Vlad, I believe, who's behind the scenes today. I'll introduce the three of us again later on in my presentation. But now that we've heard from Jerry, our head of education, on his thoughts on learning objectives specifically within the 10-week course and course outcomes, I do want to go over our catalog of educational programs, starting, of course, with the XR Development with Unity program. So on this slide here, you can see two of what we call our full courses. Effectively, what this means is that they're part-time, online, live, and taught over an extended period of time. The XR Project Accelerator, for example, is 8 weeks and includes 48 total hours of education, while the 10-week course is, of course, 10 weeks and lasts for 40 hours. Sorry, Dan, I just saw what you said in the back there. Dan's our head of marketing, everybody. He's the one sending you the recording today as well. Regarding the XR Development with Unity course, this is a program that we host approximately every 2 to 2.5 months. Our next cohort actually gets started on the 1st of December, which is next week. Registration still is open for this program, but tomorrow is the deadline to enroll. I believe we've just confirmed that our next cohort beyond this one will get started on the 15th of February, early next year. So let's go over what exactly this is. And again, Jerry just went over the schedule itself and the learning objectives. Let's talk logistics. So here we're assuming no prior experience in either Unity, VR, AR, or C# itself. We start from the very, very beginning, regardless of your previous skill set, going over the very basics and fundamentals. Effectively, what we're teaching is everything that in our expertise you as a beginner ought to know as you seek to make your own XR application. It includes 3 hours a week over 2 90-minute lessons where we go over the content in the syllabus, which Jerry highlighted just a moment ago. Above and beyond that, and Chris and Jerry have both mentioned this as well, you also get weekly one-on-one appointments with your instructor to get extra help, to go over the materials, to learn something new, or to build your very own personal project. Now, I'm not going to speak too much about our Project Accelerator course today, but you should know that next week on the 3rd, we are going to be doing a similar info session discussing that course specifically. Similar construct, but today we're going to let that one pass. We also have what we call the individual courses. These are shorter courses covering specific topics, specific headsets, or specific niches of the XR space. Everything from XR art to XR design to intro to HoloLens 2 foundations, you name it. These vary from 1 to 6 weeks. They're all part-time, they're all live, just like our XR Development with Unity course. Here is a short list of these programs, which are all available on our site and will be circulated post-workshop as well. Again, the one thing that I want to really drive home today is that with the XR Development with Unity program, no experience is required. So beginners have no fear at all. Regardless of your computer device, As long as your computer can run Unity, we would love to be able to help you get started and build your own projects. If you're building an AR device, all you need is an Android or an iPhone to be able to deploy your application. If you've got a VR headset, great. We would love to help you build for that. You can see a few of the, the Quest 2, the Vive, the Magic Leap, a mobile device. Regardless of your device, we would love to be able to help you build these applications from scratch using the Unity engine. So let's talk about admissions, because this is an important thing that often gets skated over in some workshops online. So we operate a little bit differently. You've already met me. Once again, my name's Kyle. I've mentioned Steph, my colleague who's behind the scenes, and also my colleague Vladimir. We run the admissions team here at CircuitStream, and we operate a little bit differently in that we are all educational consultants. So if you've got questions, if you want to talk about your learning goals, your learning objectives, your current skill sets, your long-term vision, your plans, our programs, whatever the case might be, we would be happy to connect with you to discuss your plans, to see if there might be a fit with what we have to offer, or to point you in the right direction if there isn't. So please don't hesitate to get in touch with any of the three of us if you have questions or want to learn more. Let's move on to the exciting stuff, because Black Friday is right around the corner. We did launch our very exciting Black Friday sale late last week. We've got 2 bundles and a flat discount offer that I would like to speak to very quickly before re-inviting Chris and Jerry on stage for the Q&A session. So the first option, we call it the VR Starter Pack. Effectively, this is admission to our XR Development with Unity program. We're also aware that C# scripting is often the biggest challenge and friction point for new learners. So we're also offering free admission to our C# Scripting Fundamentals individual course, which is set to get started in January. Also, as long as Oculus can ship to your location, as part of this bundle, we will ship you a brand new, fresh Oculus Quest 2, which is always fun, especially with the holidays coming up. The total value for this package is somewhere in the neighborhood of $4,500. We are offering this pack for $3,000 as part of the Black Friday offers, and it looks like Dayon just tossed up a link as well for you to learn more about our 3 offers. I'll go over them quickly here as well while I've got you as well. This is the sort of the same idea in terms of bundle. However, it is for the more intermediate or advanced folks in the room. For folks who might not need to necessarily learn the fundamentals, but do have a specific project or prototype in mind that they're already working on that they want to study and take to the next level, this is the pack for you. Same idea, C# Scripting Fundamentals short course, Oculus Quest 2 shipped to your location as well. But this time you get admission to the XR Project Accelerator course instead, which again, if you want to better understand the difference, we will speak to you in the Q&A. I think I saw a question on this front, or you can connect with Steph, Vlad, or myself to learn more. Same deal, this package is all in somewhere in the neighborhood of about $5,000. As for this Black Friday deal, which lasts until next Monday, November the 30th, we are offering it for $3,500. If neither of these 2 bundles make sense for you, what we're also offering is a 30% off flat discount on any of the 10 courses in our educational catalog. That includes the 10-week XR Development with Unity course, it includes the Accelerator course, and it includes all of the individual courses that I listed before. Again, the deal link has been posted in the chat, and we can circulate post-workshop as well. For both the bundles and our individual courses, we do offer payment plans of 3, 6, and 12 months as well. So feel free to ask about that, as we would be more than happy to offer you this as some added value for our programs too. If you are interested in downloading a syllabus or learning more about any of the courses that we do offer, please don't hesitate to head on over to circuitstream.com/learning. Maybe we can get it in the chat as well if you would like to learn more. Or again, as I mentioned, feel free to get in touch with any of us. One of the things that I didn't mention today, I definitely would say that this is a beginner-friendly option as well. If you work for an organization like Maxar potentially, where Chris works, potentially your team is interested in upskilling together if you're making a serious commitment to this technology. We've had the pleasure in the past of working with companies like VMware, Walmart, Indiana Wesleyan University, and more to help their teams upskill as a group, where we can offer any of the programs in our educational catalog to a subset of your team at work, which would be awesome. That's going to be it for me. At this point, I'm going to invite Chris and Jerry onto the stage with me, where we can go over some questions that I'm sure we've had behind the scenes. As always, just feel free to head over to the website. There is a live chat option there, or get in touch with any of the three of us behind the scenes if you'd like to learn more. That's going to wrap up our presentation, but let's get started on the Q&A. So thank you both for joining us once again. Jerry and Chris, is there anything behind the scenes that you see that we might be able to address? I know, Jerry, there was one that you wanted to speak to. I think it was the differences between our two courses. Maybe let's start there.
Yeah.
So Scott asks, how is the XR development course different from the XR accelerator course? Let's start there.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. So the XR development course, it's for completely beginners. So if you have never touched Unity before, or you just know like the first steps of developing for XR, this is for you. We're just gonna assume that you are there for learn from scratch. We go over every single concept for in Unity, in C#. So it's basically like building the skill set that you need for building VR and AR. You also have 1 hour of one-on-one with instructors to work on a project or portfolio, or to go over things that you did. It assumes that you already have this. You already have like the basic knowledge of XR. You already a developer. You have a project that you want to accelerate. So you're gonna have like 3 hours with an expert per week to work on a project, to optimize that, to upscale that. Well, wherever you already have a project they wanted to accelerate. We also have a couple of labs. It's like live sessions, but they are a lot more advanced. So we're just going to assume that you know the basics and are going to jump into more complex topics, more advanced physics, more frameworks. So basically that's the difference. The XR development with Unity is for beginners. The accelerator assumes that you already have a project where you already have some experience and you're ready to just accelerate your project and publish that somewhere. So yeah, I think those are the basic differences.
Awesome. And I do want to clarify as well, with folks who, like Chris, either have completed or very soon will complete the XR development with Unity program. A lot of our current students in the XR accelerator course have come from the 10-week course, but it's not necessary that you've done it first. But we have been told so far that those folks who have made the jump from beginner to intermediate/advanced, they haven't felt overwhelmed and they feel like their learning is on pace. So definitely worth mentioning there. You certainly don't have to come from the 10-week course. However, Chris, in your shoes, for example, with one of your prototypes, you would certainly be able to enter and to do well. John asks, I think, Jerry, that this is a good one for you as well. John, who is one of our inbound students for the December cohort upcoming, he asked, do we need a headset for this course? This is always an interesting one, and I'm glad that you brought it up. So thank you, John.
Yeah, so the simple question is no, you don't need it, but it's highly recommended. So we have like a couple of alternatives. If you don't have a headset, you are finally going to learn the majority of the techniques. You're going to be able to emulate things and test them in the editor. But if you want to have like the full experience, test what we're doing in the headset, the immersion and the experience in there is completely different. So we highly recommend that you do have one, or as soon as you can, you get one. But if that's not possible at all, well, that's not a huge problem. You can finally enjoy the course the same way, or almost the same way.
Awesome. We've only got one more question here in the chat, and I think this was also a good one for Jerry. For the folks in attendance here, if you have any questions for Chris, please, while Jerry's answering this next one, go ahead and post it either in the chat or in the questions tab. It might be a good idea to hear it from somebody who's living the experience right now. But let's go ahead. Roberto asks a really great question about Unity certification from Unity themselves. So Jerry, take it away as someone who is Unity certified.
How does the XR development with Unity course compare to the Unity certified user VR developer certification. Okay, so this certification is quite new by Unity. I know that if you want to have this, the Unity certified VR developer, you also need to have first the Unity certified user programmer. So you need to take the first one too before you get this one. Our course prepares you for every single topic that they cover in that certification. So if you're aiming for that, you're aiming for the certification, you can talk about that with your instructor, with the one-on-one instructor, and they can help you to prepare for the exam. One of the things that I always talk about exams is that 70% is knowing Unity and 30% is knowing how to make the exam, how to how to sit the exam, because there are types of questions, you have limited time, you're gonna have like a couple of questions that are tricky, so you need to know how to answer those questions. So the course is going to prepare you in the Unity side, and you can have help from the instructor to prepare for the exam as well. So yeah, they're pretty similar, like in terms of learning objectives and what they cover in the exam. Even though it's a quite new exam, the course helps you to prepare for that as well.
Awesome. There is a great question here for you, Chris. I'm just going to start a live answer so you can see it on screen. It's from Joshua. So thank you for this question, Joshua. What is the C# / XR development with Unity workload like? Can you hold a full-time job during these courses? So Chris, I know in your experience, you're not also involved in the C# short course, but with the 10-week course and a full-time job, what's your experience been like so far?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer. That was one of my concerns too. The short answer is yes, you can. What's really nice about when I signed up is there were a couple different time slots you could choose, which was really helpful, right? So, if you prepare in advance, you can kind of work it out with your employer, whether it's happening during that work time or ideally maybe after work time. So I would say, there's 3 hours of teaching per week and one-on-one, which can be scheduled as well based on yours and your instructor's availability. And then after that, I think what I would add is you also want to dedicate some time after each lesson to either review the material or finish what the objective is. That's really important too, because it's a very, cumulative type of teaching. So you want to make sure that you're understanding the fundamentals before you move on to that next class. So yes, you can. I would just make sure you allot that time. It does take some extra effort, but with how much I enjoy XR, it's like it's not really a chore at all. So
Awesome. Yeah, no, thanks, Chris. And to add on to that, and Joshua, this might be directly for you. We do continue to offer 3 different sessions for each cohort. So I mentioned that every 2 to 2.5 months we schedule a cohort. In Chris's example, he's in the one that started at the end of September. But for the upcoming December 1st cohort, we do have 3 different time slots that are available for the lessons. And so you, as the inbound student, get the choice on which works best for your schedule. And they are pretty forgiving. I think that they're from the earliest class in the morning to the last class at night. There's about an 8-hour window there. So typically, it does work with most schedules. So thank you. That's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up. Is there anything else here, Jerry, in the chat, either in the questions tab? I know John has one question here about the Black Friday deal that I can probably address, but I'm wondering if there's anything else that we might have missed.
Not in the questions tab. I think we cover everything. Let me see if I can find something in the chat.
Awesome. Okay, and while you do that, I will answer John's question. So John, thank you for the question. Great to see you again. I know it's pretty late in Greece, so go to bed. I'm just kidding. Regarding the second bundle, so the accelerator bundle for the Black Friday deal, if we've already taken the C# short course, is it possible to change it with another short course? So John, unfortunately, the answer is no here. We do have many short courses, but because they vary in schedule and price, they might actually clash with one another in early January. So unfortunately, that won't work. If that's something that you're considering doing, what I would recommend you do is actually just take the 30% off for the specific course that you're seeking. So I hope that answers your question there. Looks like I think we've gotten them all here, folks. So unless there's anything else, I think we're going to wrap up there. So for the folks who made it this far, thank you so much for sticking with us all the way through. Jerry, Chris, once again, thanks a million to you both. These sessions are only half as good as they are because of people like you donating your time to speak about your experience with our courses. And so really from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for attending. For the folks in the audience, we will be sending the recording. We will be sending along some resources. It looks like we got another question. Scott asks, quick question. Is it possible to extend the discount to December 3rd? Because that is when the XR accelerator session is. Oh, Scott, you're going above my pay grade here. If it were up to me, I would say yes, but we would definitely need to chat with the team about that one. So Steph, who is in the chat, and myself, we handle the admissions for the accelerator course. Definitely connect with one of the two of us here after the session, and we will be able to help you out on that front. There's another question from Demetrios. Demetrios, where is that question? Dan, if you see it in the chat. Oh, there it is.
How relatively complicated are the applications that we are aiming to develop in the beginner's course? So I think maybe developing in the session. Oops. During the sessions. Are you still there?
Yep, you're all good, Jerry.
Okay, so I was saying that maybe if Chris could speak a little bit about that from the student point of view, like how do you feel about the application of examples?
Right. How relatively complicated are the applications? So they start, like, especially the first couple projects are very doable. They just get you comfortable with the Unity interface. And I think it just builds progressively from there. I think your instructor may have tailor the project based on the level of the cohort. But it progressively gets a little bit more complicated. But what's really cool is each class kind of covers some fundamentals, and maybe you will have a project that spans 2, 3, maybe even 4 classes, and you'll see that it just kind of builds on top of it. So if you ever need to, it's not complicated in the sense, it's complicated if you look at it as one giant like finished app or project, but the way it's broken down, it's very manageable. So hopefully that helps.
It appears based on the chat that it did. So thank you for sharing that, Chris. Okay. I think we've gotten them all for real now, folks. So we're going to wrap it up for real this time as well. Everyone, thank you so much for attending from wherever in the world you are. It's always awesome to have these communities come together. Thank you so much for spending your afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are with us. Chris, Jerry, thanks once again. It's always a pleasure to have everybody involved. And yeah, thank you very much. Stay safe. Have a great evening. Please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. But for now, we're going to wrap up here and hope to see you at the next workshop. And yeah, have a great day, everybody.
Bye now.